I wanted my LDK landscape a bit different than the rest, and I come up with this LDK mini switch. In this video, we will mod a normal LDK to look more like a mini switch. We will go through the inside-out paintwork and the screen replacement with a larger IPS one. Let's get into it. In the past couple of years, we have seen a big influx of retro gaming handhelds from China, and is a reason for it. They became cheaper and better. It runs on OpenDingX, and with that comes the access to a hefty number of emulators. Well, not all run perfectly, and it does come with a thumbstick, but it's not the greatest one, to be honest. It just brings back flashbacks from the PSP times. Don't get me wrong, it's playable, but not ideal. One thing that I really like is their design of the L and R buttons, big enough for my long fingers and a comfortable click. Okay, let's start opening it up. It's quite simple. Get a screwdriver near you and unscrew the 4 screws that hold it together. Then take out the battery and the SD card so we can open it apart. With a card, ply it in between the 2 holes and run around until all pop out. Be careful, as the speakers are located on the back and the wires are very thin and can be snapped really easily. So carefully, place the back part near the front one. Take the speakers out from the back of the case with a small tweezer or a screwdriver, as they are fixed in place with some double-sided adhesive tape. And we got our back part free. Clean the adhesive remained on the case and let's go forward. With the speakers out, we got access to our PCB. This will give us access to 4 more screws so we can completely remove the internals. Before we do that, take all the buttons out so we can remove it more easily. Unscrew the 4 screws that hold it down and carefully remove it, as the screen is connected to it and we don't want the ribbon cable snapped. To remove it, you have to lift the plastic piece that goes on top of the ribbon cable and just slowly pull it out with a tweezer. And that was pretty much it with the disassembly. You can see here the plastic piece of the display connector that needs to be lifted in order to remove the ribbon cable. The screen and the lens will stay in place as the back of the display cover is closed, so no paint can get to the back of it. The only thing that needs to be done in order to ensure that it will still work is to cover the pins with some masking tape. To get the finish that I want, I will have to paint it from inside out. So in that way, we don't have the outside shell painted, and I got the same feel like the original one. Now, let's start covering the exterior of the case with some masking tape. Use masking tape, as normal paper one will bleed the paint inside, and instead of clear outline, you will have a messy uneven line. Links with the tape I used and all the other items and tools will be in the video description. We will want to cover all the exterior of the case and the middle part of it, leaving the 2 sides ready to be painted. Take your time and make sure you press the tape down so we got a perfect finish. When you have done masking, it should look something like this. So we will be able to paint the sides in different colors. Let's do the same for the back part of the case. Cover all the surfaces that you don't want paint on. In this case, we will cover the middle part of it, so we can paint it later on in black. An X-Acto knife and some spare blades will help in making some more precise cuts, so we get straight lines. Keep in mind that prepping is the most important step in painting of any sort, so take your time. Once you are done, it should look something like this. The parts that we want to paint are exposed, and the middle section and outside of the case covered. The middle part of the case will be painted later on also. Now, let's get to my favorite part of the build, painting. For the switch color scheme, I will use Cobra Neon Green and Neon Pink. Just take it outside or in a very well ventilated area and let's get started. We will also cover one side while we paint the other, so we don't have drips on the part that we don't want. Before you start spraying, shake the can vigorously and give even coats from a 30 cm distance. Do that until you got a full coverage of the surface, and once done, let's get to the next color. Now cover the part that you just painted, so we can add the bright pink one. For this color, do the same as for the first one. Go over and over until you got an even coat of paint. Leave the paint to dry for a couple of hours, but if you don't want to wait, you can dry it up with a hair dryer or a heat gun. This will ensure that when we will remove the tape, we will not gonna strip the paint. With the parts dried, we can go forward and prepare the middle part for the black color. So let's remove the middle part that we cover with the tape. This will reveal if we did a good job on the prep, but if the lines are wonky, don't worry, now you can fix it. Just go back 1 mm and reapply the paint. But if all is fine, you should have clear lines and be ready to add the black. But before we do that, just in case the paint didn't cover the surface completely, add some tape over the inside parts that are painted already, so we don't have the black color bleeding out. Using the same technique like before, give it a coat of black. Make sure you get the paint on the whole surface. Quick dry the paint with a heat gun or hair dryer, and we are ready to remove all the tape from our case to reveal the paint job. The battery cover will need to be painted also from inside, but our lines look amazing. Slowly peel off all the tape, and I'm more excited with the look. Straight clear lines and an even coat all around. I love this inside out way of painting, as the finish is amazing, and you know that will basically never fade out as far as you don't scratch from the interior. I painted the battery cover and all the painting job is finished. To make it easier to mount, make sure you clean the buttons cutouts from any paints that overlaps. We are ready to start the second stage of our mod, changing the screen with a larger one. If that is not something that you want, you can put it together now. But if you wish that changed, let's get into it. First, let's push the screen from inside out so we can remove both the lens and screen. If it's not coming out easily, heat up the lens part of it and try again. With the screen out, we can compare it with the one that we will upgrade, and you can clearly see the size difference here. You can find this one very cheap, at around $9. This is a Sony CyberShot camera screen. It's the same format as the original one, so it's a matter of just replacing it. Links will be in the description. In order to make it fit, we will need to modify the case a bit, but the screen will come in this position. So with a Dremel and a small sanding head, start cutting the contour of the screen. The first rough cut should look something like this. This is the first step in any cutouts you want to do. Make a test fit so you know how much material to take down and continue sanding it down. It's always good to remove less material so you have where to remove from. Adding material is not an option here. Give it one more try to fit the screen, and we can cut these two plastic pegs with an X-Acto knife and make a test fit. It does fit perfectly. One small drawback will be the fact that the new screen is a bit offset by 30 mm, but it's a small price for a better body to screen ratio. The last step will be to paint the display. We will need to cover just the ribbon cable with some masking tape, so we are making sure that not paint is going on the contacts and just spray it with black. The protection foil that comes on the screen will protect it from the paint. Before you insert the display, give it a last sanding to our cutout and we are ready to bring the screen in case. Let's remove the tape from the screen. Be careful while you do that, as the ribbon cable is paper thin and you can rip it apart. And that's what I did. I ripped the ribbon cable while trying to unstick the tape. Now I have to wait for the replacement to come from China. And we're back. Add your screen to the cutout and glue it in place. If you did the cutout perfectly, you will not need any glue. Bring all the parts together in the opposite order of the disassembly. And you should end up with something like this. We turn an LDK landscape into a mini Switch-like console. Which, to be honest, I can't stop playing on it. It's not the fastest, the battery doesn't hold more than 2 hours, but for some reason it's not leaving my bag. It's getting harder to choose my favorite console with all the choices that we got right now. If you're here by now, I hope you liked the video, so please subscribe so you don't miss any of the following ones. My name is Adam and I will see you in the next one.